saints and the Most High. All praise to Yahawah Ahchyam Ahchwathyam. We the saints of the Most High. All praise to Yahawah Ahchyam Ahchwathyam.
All praise to the Most High. See these saints, we don't move like most guys. The light here so I can step with closed eyes and still see the enemy coming from both sides. Come to the saints and get sanctified. You ain't holy if you ain't got a saint to ride. I'm a saint for death and a saint for life. So it was probably the same in my ancient life. I was a man of sin that paid the price and still owe. So I'm trying to get my wages right. This for the masses. Yahawah been kicking our asses, cause we're the children of Israel, if you ask us.
We the saints and the Most High. All praise to Yahawah Ahchyam Ahchwathyam. We the saints of the Most High. All praise to Yahawah Ahchyam Ahchwathyam. We the saints and the Most High. All praise to Yahawah Ahchyam Ahchwathyam. We the saints of the Most High. All praise to Yahawah Ahchyam Ahchwathyam. Well, and we them saints that sing a new song. It's our people dying every time we turn the news on. It's our people wearing capes, getting their coon on. For the ones who took it on, never putting you on. See, we dealing with the Stockholm syndrome. Talking to my people when they not gonna listen. They listen to these crackers, they got no wisdom, got no flavor.
Shalawam, shalawam. Let's give all praises, honor, glory, esteem to the Most High Yahawah and His only begotten Son, Hamashiach Yahawashi. Shalawam to all the Ahchyam, the Ahchwathyam, brothers, sisters to the four corners of the earth. Peace and blessings to you all out there. Thank you for tuning in. For those that are tuned in and may tune in later, please do me a favor and hit that like button, subscribe, and share. Please do me a favor and hit that like button. It will help the algorithm. It will help this video go out. And hopefully it will help edify our brothers and sisters to the four corners of the earth. If you have clicked on, you see the title, you see what it's about. It's about discernment. And that's what we will be speaking about today. Discernment in the Bible. And how should we use it? And do we really have it? Those are the things that we will be going into today, right? The spirit of discernment. Once again, before we get started, let's give all praises again to the Father for waking us up this beautiful day. For His mercy and compassion is new every morning. Therefore, we put our trust in Him. As we get started, let's dive into it. I just want to get, for those who may not know, let me share my screen, what the definition of discernment is. I'm not saying that you don't know, but for those who may not know, right? It says the ability to judge well. For those that may be watching, put a 1 in the chat. Let me know if the audio and everything is good. If you could do that for me, I would greatly appreciate it. Put a 1 in the chat. Let me know if the audio, the video is good, right? So it says discernment.
Discernment.
The ability to judge well. And as we go down right here, it says having discernment means possessing a keen ability to perceive, understand, and judge things clearly, intelligently, distinguishing between truth and falsehood, good and evil, are the best course of action, right? So that's what having discernment really means. Knowing the truth, or choosing between truth and evil, good and evil, are the best course of action, right? And that's what we're going to be going into today. So I just wanted to share that before we got started. Now, as I did that, let's go into the scriptures, right? And I'm going to start right here on Genesis chapter 3 because it's the fall of man. It's the very beginning of not having the right discernment and not choosing the best course of action right here. And we see this that starts right in the book of Genesis, in the beginning of the Bible, right? So it says, now the serpent was more subtle than any other beast of the field, which Yahawah Allah had made. And he said to the woman, yeah, have the Most High said, you shall not eat of every tree of the garden? Verse 2 says, and the woman said unto the serpent, we may eat of the fruit of the trees of the garden, but of the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden, the Most High has said, ye shall not eat of it, neither shall ye touch it, lest ye die. Verse 4. Now the serpent said unto the woman, ye shall not surely die. So what she knew, the discernment that she knew, the understanding that she knew, now here's the serpent infiltrating it, right? To take that discernment, take that understanding that she has already to know what she should do. Now he's infiltrating that, telling her that that's not what will really happen, right? Verse 5. For the Most High doeth know that in the day that you eat thereof, then your eyes shall be open, and ye shall be like Elohims or gods, knowing good and evil. So he gave her something to ponder on, something to think about, something to kind of say one of those moments, right? Verse 6. Let's go to verse 6. And the woman saw that the tree was good for food, and that it was pleasant to the eyes, and a tree to be desired to make one wise. She took up the fruit thereof and did eat, and gave also to her husband with her, and he did eat. So it's a lot going on right here in verse 6, right? And sometimes we'll do a comparative text. Sometimes when you do this comparative text, you may not see certain things, and I'm not saying all, just maybe some. You may not see certain things that you would see in another version or a comparative text, right? So with doing that, let's jump down, as you can see on the screen, and we'll try the New Living Translation, and we'll try the NIV. And I'll read that same verse, just in a different translation, meaning in a newer translation, I should say, New Living Translation. The woman was convinced. She saw that the tree was beautiful, and its fruit looked delicious, and she wanted the wisdom it would give her. So that's why she wanted that tree, because she desired it, because it would make her what? Wise. She wanted that wisdom. She wanted the wisdom of the Most High. That's really what she wanted. It says it right here. She wanted what? Wisdom. The wisdom that it would give her. So she took some of the fruit and ate it. Then she gave some to her husband who was with her, and he ate it too, right? In the NIV, I'm just going to read it because I said I would. When the woman saw that the fruit of the tree was good for food and pleasing to the eye, and also desirable for gaining what? Wisdom. So the whole story of Genesis and the fall of man and everything is what? She wanted to gain wisdom. That was the whole thing, because the tree is called the what? Tree of knowledge. So she wanted to gain wisdom. She was, with the serpent coming in, he lured her, deceived her, tricked her to thinking what she had already, the discernment that she had already. No, that's not good enough. There's more wisdom out there in this garden that you're in, and you can obtain it if you take it from this tree. Even though the Most High said, don't touch it, don't eat from it, don't do anything. I'm telling you, if you do this, you will gain what? Wisdom. And right after that, it says she took and ate it. And also she gave it to her husband. So let's go back real quick and move to verse 7, right? And as we can see in verse 7, it says, the eyes of them both were open. They knew that they were naked, and they sewed fig leaves together and made them aprons. And they heard the voice of the Most High, Yahweh, Allah, walking in the garden in the cool of the day. And Adam and his wife hid themselves from the presence of the Most High, Yahweh, Allah, amongst the trees of the garden. And the Most High, Yahweh, Allah, called to Adam and said unto him, where art thou? Verse 10 says, and he said, I heard the voice So like, I heard thy voice in the garden, and I was afraid because I was naked, and I hid myself. And he said, who told thee that thou was naked? Why? Because you're not supposed to know that. You're not supposed to feel this type of way and know this type of thing that you feel what? Naked. Bear, hast thou eaten from the tree whereof I commanded thee that thou should not eat? Verse 12 says, and the man said, the woman whom thou gavest to be with me, she gave me of the tree, and I did eat. Verse 13 says, and Yahweh Allah said unto the woman, what is this that thou hast done? And the woman said, the serpent, the devil, the evil one, he beguiled me, he tricked me, and I did eat it. So right here, you see, right after that they ate it, they did receive something, but what they received is not really what they wanted. Because now they're in a state of what? Shame. So even though she thought and he thought that they were going to receive something good, what they received was not good. Now they're naked. Now they're feeling what? Shame. And these things that they thought that they were going to receive, they're not. And it goes on to say in verse 14, and Yahweh Allah said unto the serpent, because thou hast done this, thou art cursed above all cattle and above every beast of the field. Upon thy belly shalt thou go, and dust shalt thou eat all the days of thy life. Verse 15, and I will put enmity between thee and the woman, and between thy seed and her seed, and it shall bruise thy head, and thou shalt bruise thy heel. So this is the curse that came upon not only the woman, not only the serpent, but also man, right? So what we thought we was going to receive, we did not receive. So the discernment that this woman had way back up here in Genesis chapter, let me see, I want to make sure I quote the right one. I think it was verse 6, right? When he was enticing her, and she thought that it was good for food and pleasant to the eyes and a tree to be desired, right? She desired it. She wanted that wisdom to make one what? Wise. What she received and what he received, Adam, is not really what they thought that they were going to receive. So she didn't use the discernment that she had at that time. Even though she had discernment, she didn't use it. And we know she had it because she told him in the prior verses that what? We can eat from certain trees, but this one we cannot. So she didn't use the discernment she had to choose between good and evil when she was speaking with the serpent. She was beguiled. She let the serpent come in and trick or deceive her. And it's the same thing today. Some of the things that we go through that we allow for the Satan or the devil, however you want to look at it, whatever your name is that you call, to infiltrate into our lives and deceive us. And then our discernment is off on some of the things that we choose to do and some of the things that we do in our life, right? Now, I want to go to the New Testament real quick. Bear with me. And I want to go to 1 John chapter 4. And we'll start at verse 1. I guess I didn't hit that right. 1 John chapter 4, right? And the reason I want to go here, if you see it on the screen, it says testing what? The spirits. And we have to test those spirits. See, one thing she didn't do is test that spirit. She hearkened to it, but didn't test it. In 1 John chapter 4, this is why it's so important for us to read and know the writings, the epistles, the letters that were given to us from the apostles, because it's warning us about things even in today's time that we're going through. It says, beloved, believe not every spirit. If she had took just this part right here, if she had just took just that part right there with the discernment that she had already, if she had just took that part, she would not have taken from the tree. It says, beloved, believe not every spirit, or rakah in the Hebrew. But try the spirits whether they are of the Most High, right? And that's what she should have did. When that serpent came to beguile her, to trick her, to deceive her, she should have tried that spirit, that serpent, to see if he was of the Most High. And we can see when we read that he was speaking contrary to what the Most High had already told Adam, and Adam relayed the message to her. So we know that he couldn't have been a spirit of the Most High. I mean, let's be honest. We know that he created him, but at the same time, he wasn't working in a manner of good discernment, neither for her or for the Most High at this time, right? Basically, it was wanting to see if you're going to fall into this trap, into this snare, as we continue on. Verse 1, we're still in verse 1. Because many false prophets are going out into the world. Hereby you know the spirit of the Most High. Every spirit that confess Yahawashi Mashiach is come in the flesh is of the Most High. So this is what John is telling us that we need to hearken to and listen to. And if a man confess that Yahawashi Mashiach, Jesus Christ, is come in the flesh, then he says that he is of the Most High. But as we read other epistles, we know that there are what? Wolves in sheep clothing. So you do have men out here who do profess that Yahawashi HaMashiach, or Christ, has came in the flesh. He has risen. He has resurrected. So many different things, but yet they're still wolves in sheep clothing. So we still have to be cautious in that, right? And this is why I want to go to this, that we can make sure that we're testing these spirits. And in testing these spirits, you have to have what? Discernment. You have to have discernment in testing these spirits. The whole Bible is about what? Discernment. Let me get back. Let me go to another one real quick. Let's go to Hosea chapter 14 real quick. Hosea chapter 14, right? I want to get this in the NL real quick. Hosea chapter 14, and I'm going to just do verse 9. Right, let me blow this up a little bit on my screen. So we're in the book of Hosea, chapter 14, verse 9. And it says in verse 9, let those who are wise understand these things. So for the people that are wise, let them understand these things. Let those with discernment listen carefully. Right? So this is what Hosea is writing. And he's telling us, those that have discernment, listen carefully. Open up your ears, really listen to what's being said out here in the world, on these lessons, on these videos, all these things that you see on TV. Really open up your ears and listen to what's being said. Use the discernment that was given to you through the Most High. The paths of Yahweh are true and right. We already know in Matthew, we already know Hamashiach Yahushua, Christ, he says that what? The road is narrow to be with him. Very narrow. But there's another road. And that road is what? Very broad. So you have different paths, as it says right here. But the path of the Most High, the Father, Yahweh, they are true and they are right. And righteous people live by what? Walking in them. So a person can say one thing, but how is your walk? What are you walking like? How are you living? How is your day-to-day life? Right? This is what shows if you're really walking in the true path of the Most High and His only begotten Son, Christ, the anointed one, the Savior, the one that was sent to redeem and save us from our what? Sins. Once again, I'll read it again. The paths of Yahweh are true and right, and righteous people live by walking in them. Something just came to mind, one of the ones that I love to go to. I'm going to go to that real quick right after this. But in those paths, sinners do stumble and fall. They stumble and fall what? At that righteous path. Now, I quoted Matthew, right? Let me go back to King James. I quoted Matthew. So I'll go there real quick because I quoted it. And then I'll go right back to Psalms real quick. What did I quote? I think 13. Yeah. Right. Now here's those paths that we're speaking about. And Christ is telling us to do what? Enter ye at the straight gate. He wants you to go through that straight path, that straight gate. For wide is the gate and broad is the way that leadeth to what? Destruction. So there different paths, and in those different paths you have one that is straight, narrow, right? And then you have another one that's wide and very broad. Now you have to use discernment here in the world that we live in. Which way is very broad, right? When it comes to serving Christ, when it comes to serving the anointed one, the Savior, which way is very broad? And then you have to look at and use your discernment to see which way is the straight way, the very narrow way. You have to use your discernment. Just because you're in a mega church and there's 50,000 people there, right, doesn't necessarily mean that it's the straight gate. Or if you're in a congregation of a church, hey, and it's 12 of y'all there, that still doesn't mean that you're still what? In that narrow or that straight gate. You can still be in that wide or broad that leadeth where? To destruction. This is why you need that discernment. And it says, and many there be which go in thereat. So there's many people who go in the way of what? Destruction. Many people. Verse 14, because straight is the gate and narrow is the way. So his way is very narrow. There's no wiggle room. It's very cut and dry. As they call it, no gray area. I think that's how it's said. No gray area, right? And I'm only reading what's written. So this is in the New Testament. This is in the book of Matthew, chapter 7, verse 14. But straight is the gate and narrow is the way which leadeth unto life, and few there be that find that. So all these people in the world, we have billions of people in the world, and Hamashiach, the anointed one, Christ, he's telling us right here, it's going to be a few people who find that straight and narrow way. But he tells us in verse 13 that what? For wide is the gate and broad is the way that lead to destruction. But right here it says many people will go that way. So you have to use your discernment through the Spirit of the Most High. Remember what we just read, 1 John 4. Test the Spirit. And you have to see which way, use your discernment, that what you're in or what you're about or how you're living, right? Because it says work out your own salvation. Are you living in a manner or a way that's pleasing to the Most High and His only begotten Son that He sent? That's pleasing to Christ, because He said we're in a very narrow path. Now, another thing that was stated in that one that we just read in Hosea, he said that His path is true. And I want to get that real quick in the book of Psalms, right? Real quick, and then we'll get back on target, right? This is the book of Psalms, chapter 19. I believe this is what I want. Yes, verse 7, right? It says the law of Yahweh is perfect. So we know that the law is perfect, converting the soul. The testimony of Yahweh is sure, making wise the simple, right? So if you really want that wisdom that like Eve desired from that tree, all you have to do is get it from the Most High, or ask the Most High that you want to be wise, or you want understanding, or you want discernment, or you want wisdom, and he will hearken, listen, and give it to you. Verse 8, it says, the statutes of Yahweh are right, rejoice in the heart. The commandment of Yahweh is pure, enlightening the eyes. Why? Because you're being enlightening to what the discernment that you need, especially in this world. You may have been going down one path, like we spoke about just a minute ago in Matthew 7, 13 and 14. Maybe you was in that broad crowd. But once he gave you the understanding and he enlightened you and opened up your eyes, then you said, okay, this is not the path that I need to be on. I need to be on this other path, which is a very narrow and straight way, because this is the way he said that I need to go. And then you start to use your what? Discernment. Verse 9 says, the fear of Yahweh is clean, enduring forever. The judgments of Yahweh are true and righteous altogether. Right? Verse 10, more to be desired than gold. Yeah. Than much fine gold. So the best gold that you can find in the earth, the very finest gold that you can find, his words, his judgments are more righteous than those things that you can find within the earth. They're more to be desired than those things that you can find in the earth. Sweeter also than honey in the honeycomb, right? Moreover, by them is thy servant warned, and in keeping of them is a great reward. What reward? The kingdom, right? The kingdom. Everybody wants to get into the kingdom of heaven. It's telling you right here that this is the reward that you will get, right? So I just kind of wanted to go in that. Once again, that was the book of Psalms, chapter 19, I believe, from verse 7 to 11, right? If you want to go back and review that. All praises to the Most High for that, right? Now, I want to go to another one. Let me see if anybody's, let me see. I'll go to 1 Kings real quick. 1 Kings chapter 3. And it's important that we have this discernment, right? So we go to one of the wisest men, Solomon, right? We'll go to Solomon, one of the wisest men. So this is 1 Kings chapter 3, and we can see that we're speaking about Solomon in verse 1, but I am going to jump down to about verse 7, right? If you have not read 1 Kings, please go back and do so. And as you can see on the screen, it says Solomon's prayer. So we know that we're speaking about who? Solomon. And I'll jump to verse 7, and it says, and now, O Yahweh, my power, thou hast made thy servant king instead of David, my father. And I'm but a little child. I know not how to go out or come in, right? He says he's a little child. Verse 8, and thy servant is in the midst of thy people, which thou hast chosen, a great people that cannot be numbered nor counted for the multitude. Verse 9, give therefore thy servant an understanding heart. So Solomon is praying, and he's asking the Most High to give thy servant, which is him, an understanding heart, to judge thy people. This is what he's asking for in his prayer, that I may what? Discern. I'll highlight all that. That I may discern between good and bad, for who is able to judge this, thy so great a people? So he's asking for what? Discernment. This is what Solomon is asking for. He's asking for discernment. Remember when we first opened up this lesson, And it says having discernment means what? Possessing a keen ability to perceive, understand, judge things clearly and intelligently, right? Distinguishing between what? Truth and falsehood, good and evil, are the best course of action, right? The best course of action, whatever you think is best. And this is what Solomon is asking for right here in 1 Kings chapter 3, verse 9. He's asking for what? Discernment. So he could discern between good and evil or good and bad, right? Because he said this is such a great people. Let's see what verse 10 says. And the speech, or what he asked, pleased the Most High. That Solomon had asked this thing. So it pleased the Most High that he asked for these, that he wanted discernment. So if it pleased the Most High that Solomon asked for discernment, wouldn't it please, maybe, I can't say with certainty, but wouldn't it please the Most High if we asked for discernment? If we wanted discernment, right? Wouldn't it please the Most High? We got somebody in the chat say Apocalyptus, Revelation 22:14. Blessed are they that do his commandments, that they may have right to the tree of life and may enter in through the gates into the city. Khan, all praises. You notice what it says right there. If you see it on the screen, it says, blessed are they that do his what? Commandments, right? So Khan, I totally agree with that. That you will have that key. You will get into that. That once again, it says that narrow way, what I just read, right? That narrow path, that narrow way, right? So let's get back into it. 1 Kings chapter 3, verse 10. And it says, and the speech pleased the Most High that Solomon had asked this thing. Verse 11. And the Most High said unto him, because thou hast asked this thing, and has not asked for thyself long life, which a lot of people be asking for, neither has thou asked for what? Riches. You didn't want to be rich. You didn't ask for that, for thyself, right? You're not asking for the lottery, right? You're not going down to V-Town or Vegas and on the crap table, blowing on the dice, telling Most High, please, Most High, let me hit this number 7. Oh, come on, number 7. No. He didn't ask for that. Nor has that asked what? The life of thy enemies. But thou hast asked for thyself what? Understanding to discern judgment. Understanding to discern judgment. So even Solomon in all his greatness, even though he was a little child right here, he was wise enough at this particular time to know that he was going to, through the course of his life, that he was going to need what? Discernment to be able to what? Judge certain matters. And he needed this discernment from who? The Most High. Not man, not the serpent, not the woman, nobody else. He needed this discernment from who? The Most High. And this is who he asked. 1 Kings chapter 3, verse 11. He's asking the Most High, and the Most High is pleased that he asked this. Verse 12. Behold, I have done according to thy words. Lo, I have given thee a wise understanding. So what he asked for, he received. It says he received it. Behold, I have done according to thy words. Lo, I have given thee a wise and understanding heart, so that there were none like thee before thee, neither after thee shall any arise like unto thee. And I have also given thee that which thou hast not asked. So you never know what the Most High might give you. Solomon asked for discernment. And here it is in verse 13. He's letting him know, even the things that you didn't ask for, I'm going to give to you. Because you asked for discernment and not for these other things that you wanted to be wise, to be able to discern and have understanding, to be able to judge the people in a righteous manner. He says, listen, since you did that and you didn't want all this other stuff, I'm going to give these things to you also. It says both riches, honor, so that there shall not be any among the kings like unto thee all thy days. If thou wilt walk in my ways, to keep my statutes and my commandments, as thy father David did walk, then I will lengthen thy days. And verse 15 says, and Solomon awoke, and behold, it was a dream. And he came to Jerusalem and stood before the ark of the covenant of Yahweh, and offered burnt offerings and offered peace offerings, and made a feast to all his servants. And then we know, as we know, Solomon was one of the wisest men. And they said there came two women that were harlots, and unto the king, and stood. For those who know that story, I'm not going to read it, right? But if you want to know that story, this is one of the greatest stories of how he judged between these two women and their child, right? I guess I'll read a little bit of it. Something in the spirit say, go ahead and read it, right? Verse 17, and the woman said, O my master, I and this woman dwell in one house, and I was delivered a child with her in the house. And it came to pass the third day after that I was delivered, that this woman was delivered also. And we were together. There was no stranger with us in the house, save we two in the house. And this woman's child died in the night, because she overlaid it. And she arose at midnight and took my son from beside me, while thy handmaid slept, and laid it in her bosom, and laid her dead child in my bosom. So a little trickeration, right? Some things that's going on here. She moving around at night, right? Taking her baby that's dead, putting it in that woman you could see. Verse 21. And when I arose in the morning to give my child suck, behold, it was dead. But when I had considered it in the morning, behold, it was not my son, which I did bear. And the other woman said, nay, but the living is my son, and the dead is thy son. And this said, no, but the dead is thy son, and the living is my son. Thus thou speak before the king. Then said the king, the one saith, this is my son that liveth, and thy say, right, and thy son is dead, Salakia. And the other saith, nay, but thy son is the dead, and my son is the living. And the king said, bring me my sword, right? So Solomon said, hey, both of y'all going back and forth, one dead, one alive. Listen, bring me my sword. This is what Solomon said. And they brought a sword before the king. And the king said, divide the living child in two, and give half to one and the other half to the other. Then spake the women whose the living child was unto the king, for her bowels yearned upon her son, and said, Salaki, and she said, O my master, give her the living child. Listen, just give her the child. And in no wise slay it. But the other said, let it be neither mine nor thine, but divide it. So that hate that was inside that other woman right here, let it be known. And he used his discernment that the Most High gave him to make a what? Righteous judgment. How do we know? Verse 27. Then the king answered and said, give her the living child, and in no wise slay it. She is the mother thereof. Right? And it says, and all Israel heard of what? The judgment, the discernment which the king had judged. He used his discernment that the Most High gave him, and they feared the king, for they saw the wisdom. What did they see? The wisdom of the Most High was in him to do what? Judgment, righteous discernment. And they feared him for that. They feared him for that. We got another one. He says, I think that's James 1:5. If any of you lack wisdom, let him ask the Most High, or Elohim, that giveth to all men, right, upbraideth not, and it shall be given. Khan. Yeah, that's James 1:5, right? Let me pull that for the arc on the screen real quick, and then we'll go back. I think that's James 1. Let's get that right. So that's the book of James that the Akapatalito put on there. James chapter 1, verse 5, and it says, if any, not some, not all, not a little bit, it says, if any of you lack wisdom, let him ask the Most High, right? To give it to all men. He give it to all men, and upbraideth not, and it shall be given him, right? And I want to read verse 6 right here because it's important. But let him ask in what? Faith. You have to have what? Faith, not wavering. For he that wavereth is like a wave of the sea, driven with the wind and tossed. Verse 7 says, for let not that man think that he shall receive anything of the master. And verse 8 says, a double-minded man is unstable in all his ways, right? So thank you for that. Yeah, right? Thank you for that. Let me see if I think I seen something else on there. Smart. Well, I know right here you're saying, well, I use, I'm not sure, but I use Elohim, right? In a modern Yiddish type of way, is people use Elohim, but when I say Elohim, that's just more of an ancient paleo thing where they didn't have E's, or they used the A. So I say Elohim, or powers, because that's really what it means. That's what the word Elohim means, powers, right? So all praises for that. Thank you for that. Thank you for that comment, right? Thank you for that comment. So as we was here in Kings, we see, I think it went down too far. Let me see. We see here that they feared who? Solomon. Why? Because he used the discernment that the Most High had given him. For they saw that he had the what? Wisdom of the Most High. And he did what? Used a righteous judgment. Righteous what? Discernment. Let's get another one real quick. I'm not going to hold you long today, but I did want to be able to get this in because it's important that we know about this discernment. This all throughout the Bible, like I say, from Genesis all the way to Revelation, and even the Octus on here that's in the chat, you can see he's posting things within the chat that's giving discernment, asking our brothers in them, asking for wisdom and discernment and things from the Most High. So just as they did, we should do also. This is 1 Samuel chapter 16, verse 7, right? And it says, but Yahweh said to Samuel, look not on his countenance or the height of his statue, because I have refused him. For Yahweh seeth not as man seeth. For man looketh on the outward appearance, but the Most High look on the what? Heart. Once again, the Most High is showing us that he's not like us. And he's telling Samuel here that you're looking at these young men, because right now, Samuel, if you haven't read Samuel, what he's doing, he's been sent to Jesse, which is David's father, and he's trying to anoint or pick one of the Jesse's sons, right? And in that, he's telling him, Samuel, don't look at the statue of them. Yeah, they may be 6'6", broad shoulders, chopped up, looking like NFL players or basketball players. And, they have a great statue, great height, great body build, all that. But the Most High said, don't look on that. I refuse those men. right? I'm not looking on the outward appearance. You can see it right here. He says it. This is the Most High speaking, right? This is the Most High speaking. He says, I'm not looking on the outward appearance, but I'm looking at what? The heart. All praises be to the Most High for that he doesn't look at our outward appearance. He's looking at our heart, right? And that's what's important. We as individuals, as the believers, should be listening and hearkening to this so we can use this type of discernment as we continue on, right? And then it goes on to verse 8 and it's speaking about then Jesse called all his sons, basically, right? And made him pass before Samuel. Like I said, they're trying to choose the one that the Most High wants to anoint, right? Neither have Yahweh chosen this, right? So it says in verse 9, then Jesse made one of his other sons to pass, and he said neither, right? So all of his sons are passing before who? Samuel. And Samuel's trying to see all of his sons so he can anoint one, because the Most High sent him there to anoint one. Verse 10 says, again, Jesse made 7 of his sons to pass before Samuel. And Samuel said to Jesse, Yahweh have not chosen these, right? So out of those 7 sons that passed before Jesse, right, which is David's father, none of those sons the Most High had chosen. So then verse 11, Samuel says, or let me read it verbatim. And Samuel said unto Jesse, are here all thy children? Is this all your children that you have? Because the Most High is not telling me to anoint none of these boys or none of these men, right? And he said, there remaineth yet the youngest, and behold, he keepeth the sheep. And Samuel said to Jesse, send and fetch him, for we will not sit down till he cometh hither. Right? So he had one more son that was out in the field somewhere keeping the what? Sheep. Right? And when we think about keeping the sheep, who else kept the sheep in the Bible? Right? Well, we know Hamashiach Yahushai is the what? He is the what? He is the great shepherd, right? He keeps the sheep. But there was somebody else in the Bible. Abel, when we speak about Cain and Abel, right? Cain was what? A tiller of the ground, right? Abel was what? A keeper of the sheep, right? Animals. That's where he brought sacrifice. So here it is, Abel doing that in Genesis, and here it is, David doing this right here in 1 Samuel, right? He keeps the sheep. And Samuel said to Jesse, send and fetch him, for we won't sit down until basically he comes, right? And verse 12 says, and he sent and brought him in. Now he was ruddy, and withal beautiful countenance, and goodly looking to look at. You know, he was good to look at. And Yahweh said, arise, anoint him, for this is he. So when David walked in, soon as he walked in, right, the Most High Yahweh said, hey, Samuel, anoint him. This is him right here. Verse 13, then Samuel took the horn of oil, anointed him in the midst of his brethren, and the Spirit of Yahweh, or the Most High, came upon David from that day forward. So Samuel rose up and went to Ramah. Verse 14, but the Spirit of Yahweh departed from Saul, and an evil rakah, or an evil spirit from Yahweh, troubled who? Saul. And for those who have read this story, you know, right? So even we see right here, the reason I read this is the discernment of Samuel, right? His discernment that he had at this particular time was off, because he was looking at what? The outer appearance. He was looking at the outer appearance. And the Most High lets us know, don't look at that outer appearance, right? Don't pay attention to that. Don't worry about that, right? I'm worried about the heart. So it just shows you the discernment even that we have sometimes, as Samuel had, because he would have chose probably one of the 7, right? They looked good to him. But the Most High knew something different, and we have to use the discernment that the Most High is giving us, right? Let me see something. Let me see the chat real quick. Let me see. I'm not sure what that means. The three brother. It's important. Apocalyptic. Let me see. He has something else. Job 28 and 28. Let me pull it. Right. Job 28 and 28, I believe the ox say. Let me pull it and see what it say. The reason I want to pull it, let me make sure it's showing on the screen. Con, it's not. Hold on. Let me share it on the screen. Because I don't know if people see it in the chat or not, you know, but I do want to show it. Let me see. You said 28, 28, right? And he says, this is Job, the book of Job, chapter 28, verse 28. I believe that's what the Ak wanted. Let me double check. Con, 28, 28. And it says, and unto men he said, behold, the fear of the Most High, that is wisdom, and to depart from evil is understanding. All praises, right? All praises. Which is what? Discernment. That is discernment right there. Using wise, righteous, or the best what? Course of action. Job 28 and 28, it says, and unto man he said, behold, the fear of the Most High. Right? When you fear the Most High, that is what? Wisdom. And to depart from what? Evil is understanding, meaning you leave it alone. You say, hey, that's not good for me. That's not the best thing or the best course of action for me on what it is that I'm trying to do or accomplish or whatever it is going on in your life. All praises be to the Most High for that comment right there. That was a beautiful one. Job 28 and 28 for those that are in the comments and those that may watch this later. Hope you see it on the screen, right? We got another one that says, the Most High Yahawah chooses the weak things. Says David is a man chosen of the Most High Yah, anointed by grace, the man after Yahweh's own choosing. Khan. Like I said, if anybody has something that they would like to relay in the chat, please relay it, please, so we can show it on the screen and we'll put it up there. But this brother right here, I believe it's a brother. If you're not a brother, my apologies, but I believe it's a brother in here that's relaying some good information, you know, that needs to be put out, you know, and it's important that we do this. So for that scripture, Job 28 and 28 that he posted right here, and then even just the very comment that he's speaking on right here, right? Even that just very comment. And then he had another one. Let me go back up because I want to show this for those that may have came in now or come in later. He had James chapter 1, verse 5, right? And then also we had Revelation chapter 22, verse 14, right? So all praises to the Most High for that. Beautiful, beautiful. So I'm almost finished, right? But bear with me. Now I want to get back to the lesson, and we'll go to Hebrews, New Testament. Hebrews chapter 5, right? Hebrews chapter 5. And we know we have a perfect high priest, which is Hamashiach Yahushai. And I'm going to jump down to verse 12. And it says, For the time you ought to be teachers, you have need that one teach you again, which be the first principle of the oracles of the Most High, and are become such as have need of what? Milk, and not strong meat. Paul spoke about this same thing in the 1 Corinthians chapter 3, right? That he came and he wanted to feed them with meat and spiritual stuff, but they were what? They was unlearned. They was on milk, right? Verse 13, for everyone that uses milk, if you using milk, it says that you're what? Unskillful in the word of righteousness, for he is a baby or babe. So if you still on milk, it says that you are unskillful in the very word of righteousness of the Most High. So the discernment that you may have, or you think you may have, may not really be right because you are bathed in the Most High. So you have to understand what is it saying. And then it says in verse 14, be strong, Salakia, but strong meat belonging to them that are of full age. Of full age. You have that understanding. You have that discernment. Even those who by reason of use have their senses exercised to what? Discern both good and evil. If you can see that, let me do a comparative text, right? I just want to see what it says real quick in the New Living. It says solid food is for those who are mature, who through training have the skill to recognize the difference between right and wrong. That's what discernment is, right? We read it earlier when I put it up on the screen, the definition in the beginning of the first thing I showed in this course of the class. In the NIV, it says right here, but solid food is for the mature, right? Who be consistent, use have trained themselves to what? Distinguish between what? Good and evil. They have that discernment. They can distinguish between what? Good and evil. If Eve had this discernment, if Eve could have distinguished, she would not have looked at that tree and desired it and thinking that it could be what? One to make one wise. But she didn't use the discernment that she had. She didn't distinguish between what the serpent was saying and what the Most High has said, right? So I just wanted to show that in the book of Hebrews chapter 5, 12 on down, but really 14 is like the meat of it, right? The discern. Let's click on this word real quick, right? Just to see even in the New Testament, what is it speaking about? We know what the word discern means, but I'm just going to click on it just to see what does it say in here for the biblical use of it, right? Right. And it says the outline biblical usage is to what? Distinguish, discerning, judging, right? That's what we're doing here. And this is what you have to do in a course of everyday life that we live as believers. As believers, right? Let me go to another one real quick. Matthew chapter 10. And just remember this, you know, this is the reason why I wanted to show this real quick. Matthew 10 and 16, it says, behold, I send you forth as sheep, right? Once again, he is the what? True shepherd, right? We are the sheep. Anyway, I send you forth as sheep in the midst of who? Wolves. We have to understand where we're at. We're in a place that's not for us. We're in a place that where it's a lot of wolves around us, a lot of wolves in sheep clothing, right? So we have to use the best judgment or the best discernment that we have from the wisdom of the Most High. It says, be ye therefore wise as what? Serpents, and harmless as doves. But beware of men, for they will deliver you up to the councils, and they will scourge you in their what? Churches, synagogues, camps, congregations. Whatever you are in today, they will what? Scourge you. That's what it's letting you know. So you have wolves out here. And we have to be what? Wise as serpents. Wise as that serpent was in Genesis chapter 3, where I opened it up at, just as wise as he was, it says we have to be that wise. But the difference is that we're harmless as what? Doves. When you see a dove, you don't get up and run. You don't go, not unless you sometime a woman or a girl may do that if it comes in and try to land on them or something like that. But and generally, they're not just, they don't see a dove and just scream and run and, things like that. Like, they're not scared. They're harmless creatures, right? So this is kind of what it's saying. Let me go into 1 Corinthians real quick. 1 Corinthians chapter 2. First Corinthians chapter 2. Let me see. The brother says something else. Let me see. But David also has chose after Yahweh's heart. It goes both ways, Khan. He put another one, another good one in the track. This is that, that's one of my favorites right there too. That's one of my favorites. Let me pull that, and then we'll go to 1 Corinthians. We'll go back here real quick. Proverbs 6. That's one of my favorites. I always go and I refer back to that all the time, man. All the time. That's one of my favorites. It says for the, in the other one, Psalms 119, 105, right? Both of these are one of my favorites. Psalms 119, 105, and Proverbs 6 and 23. For the commandment is a lamp. It's a lamp. It's a light. And the law is light, right? So you got a lamp. The law is light. And the reproofs of instructions are the way of life. So you're going to be reproved, and you're going to have some instructions along the way to correct yourself to what? Use for the discernment. Something that you may have thought was right, but really not. Why? To keep thee from the evil woman. The things of this world. That woman that sit on that beast. They got that cup in her hand full of abominations. From the flattery of the tongue of who? That strange woman in the world. This is why it goes into 25. Lest not after her beauty in thy heart, neither let her take thee with her what? Eyelids. For by means of a whorish woman, a man is brought to a piece of bread, and an adulteress will hunt for precious life. And hey, if you a believer, if you a man that believe in the Most High Yahweh, if you a man that believe in the only begotten Son, Hamashiach Yahushai, Christ, the anointed one, the Savior that was sent into the world to save you from your sins, you a precious life. You're a precious life. And 27 says, can a man take fire in his bosom and his clothes not be burned? You think about that. So all these things right here in the book of Proverbs chapter 6, are going into discernment. It's going into a great discernment. It's letting you know. Can one go up upon hot coals and his feet not be burned? So he that goeth into his brother's or his neighbor's wife, whosoever toucheth her shall not be innocent. And it's a lot of brothers out there that are sleeping with man wives. Don't you know you're bringing death upon yourself? It says, the Bible says that you will not be innocent sleeping with that man's wife. You're not using the discernment that is given, especially if you're a believer. Especially if you're a believer. Hopefully, if you're a believer, you're not doing anything like that. So, this is 1 Corinthians chapter 2, and I'm going to start at verse 6 real quick. It says, howbeit we speak wisdom among them that are perfect, yet not the wisdom of this world. This is not what we speak in here on this platform. We're not speaking the wisdom of this world. So if you're looking for that wisdom, that's not here. This is a spiritual wisdom that was given through the Spirit of the Most High and relayed through the message that was given to us through not only the Torah, the prophets, the writings, the apostles, right? All these things that we have. It says, nor of the princes of this world that have come to what? Nothing. But we speak the wisdom of who? The Most High in a mystery, Sometimes it's a mystery to some people, right? It was a mystery to us. It was a mystery to me at a period of time, even the hidden wisdom. So we have some hidden wisdom that people may not understand, which the Most High ordained before the world unto our glory. Verse 8 says, which none of the princes of this world knew, for had they known, if they known it, they would have not crucified the master of our glory, right? Christ. If they knew what they were doing, they would have not done it, because then it wouldn't have been innocent blood shed. And then he couldn't have saved us from our sins, because they wouldn't have killed him, or they wouldn't have shed his blood. Verse 9, it says, but as it is written, I have not seen nor heard, neither have I entered into the heart of man, the things which the Most High have prepared for them that love him. Verse 10, for the Most High have revealed them unto us by what? His Spirit. For the Spirit searcheth all things, yeah, the deep things of the Most High. So it's the Spirit that do what? Search it. Not you, but it's the Spirit that searcheth all things. Yes, the deep things of who? The Most High, or Elohim, or the power, right? However you want to look at it. Verse 11, for what man knoweth the things of man, save the spirit of man, which is in him? Even so, the things of the Most High knoweth no man, but the Spirit of the Most High. So the only way you get that discernment, that true understanding, is by having what? The Spirit of the Most High. Because if you have the Spirit of the Most High, it says, even so, those things of the Most High knoweth no man. So no man know the things of the Most High. But if you are in the Spirit, or you have the Spirit of the Most High, then you can understand and you know things of the Most High, and you can have discernment, right? Go all the way back to what Solomon asked for. Verse 12. Now we have received, not the spirit of the world. We didn't receive that, but the Spirit which is of the Most High. So Paul is letting us know here in 1 Corinthians chapter 2, verse 12, that we have received the Spirit of the Rakah, which is of who? The Most High. That we might know the things that are freely given to us, right? Let me highlight that. I want you to see that. That we might know the things that are freely given to us. Huh? So we know these things now. It's not hidden. It's not a mystery to us at this particular time. There are other things that are still mysteries to us, right? That is still a mystery to us. But right now, these very things that we have is not a mystery. We understand. Verse 13, which things also we speak, not in the words which man wisdom teacheth, no, not at all, but which the Holy Ghost teacheth, comparing spiritual things with what? Spiritual. Letting you know all these things that we're going through and talking about are what? Spiritual. Like I say, if you want the wisdom of the world, that's not here. This is a spiritual platform, right? Speaking about spirituality, speaking about the Most High of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and his only begotten Son that he sent into the world, Christ, the anointed one, the Savior, the one who was smeared with the oil, that shed his blood, raised, and now is sitting on the right hand of the Father. Doing what? Being our high priest, mediating, and being prepared to come back and save us from this evil that's in the world. Verse 14, but the natural man receiveth not these things of the Spirit of the Most High, for they are foolishness unto him. Right. You got some people who click on this channel, right? Or you got some people who's watching now, and it's foolishness to him, right? It's foolishness to them. Neither can he know them, because they are what? Spiritually discerned. They're spiritually discerned. So yeah, you may not understand. Some other people may watch this and may not understand, or you may be watching yourself and don't understand. And the reason why is because you have to spiritually discern the things that are going on, not only in your life, but in the very word that we read that people say that they believe in, right? Verse 15, but he that is spiritual judgeth all things, yet he himself is judge of no man. He's judge of no man. For who have known the mind of the Most High, that he may instruct him. But we have the mind of who? Christ, Hamashiach. That's who we have the mind of. He is our head. That's 1 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 2 and 3 on down, right? The order. So he is our head. And we have to go through him. He is the door to get to the Father. Try to go up any other way, you're a thief and a robber, right? And we know that. So you have to have what? Spiritual discernment. You have to have spiritual discernment, right? Hopefully this was edifying for you. I didn't want to make it too long. Let me see if the brother put anything else in the chat. No. I didn't want to make it too long. I was going to read this one in the book of, let me just go here real quick. And I'm not going to read this whole thing because it's a lot, but it's a lot of information here, right? This is the book of Wisdom of Solomon, right? In the 1611 King James Bible. If you don't have a 1611 King James Bible, I encourage for you to get you one, or you can use the one online that we have pulled up right here today. Once again, the book of Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 2. If you have not read this, please go back and read it. Please go back and read it. For time's sake, I'm going to just jump down. Like, please go back and read all of this chapter because it goes into great detail. It's speaking about other people who don't necessarily believe in the Most High and His only begotten Son, and they live in their life the way they want to live it, right? So it's kind of, that's what it's speaking about. But then they start talking about Christ, Hamashiach, right? I'll just start at verse 12, and it says, therefore, let us lie in wait for the righteous, because he is not for our turn, right? He is not for our turn. Speaking about Christ. And he is clean contrary to our doings, right? He doesn't do the things of these people of the world. The things that people do in this world, he does not do. He upbraided us with our offending the law and objected to our infirming the transgressions of our education. He professeth to have the knowledge of the Most High, and he calleth himself the child of the Most High Yahawah, right? The son of the Most High. So this is who these people that really don't believe and just live in life, this is what they're saying, right? Please go back and read it for yourself, though. I'm just, kind of touching on it. Verse 14, he was made to reprove our thoughts, talking about Hamashiach, Christ. He is grievous unto us, even to behold, for his life is not like other men's. His ways are of another fashion, right? He didn't walk and do the things that other men in this world did. This is why he is our Savior, because he did not sin. He didn't fall victim. He didn't stumble, right? He didn't fall into lust. He didn't give in to his flesh, right? Verse 16, we are esteemed of him as counterfeits. These are the people speaking that Solomon is writing about. He abstaineth from our ways as from filthiness, right? The way of this world, if you're not living for Christ and walking as he told you to walk, then you're living in what? Filth. He pronounced the end of the just to be blessed, and maketh his boast that the Most High is his Father. Yes, he does make that the Most High Yahweh is his Father. That's how we know who is speaking about. It's speaking about Christ. Verse 17, let us see if his words be true. So now they want to know if Hamashiach Yahawashi words are going to be true, right? So these people are what we would call today like agnostic, atheists, right? They're kind of mocking. and let us prove what shall happen in the end of him. For if the just man be the son of the Most High, he will help him and deliver him from the hand of his enemies. Let us examine him with the despitefulness and torture, that we may know his meekness and prove his patience. Let us condemn him with a shameful death. Speaking about Christ, Hamashiach Yahushua, for by his own sins he shall be respected. These are the people that's mocking him. Such things they did imagine and were deceived. The discernment they had was off and were deceived, for their own wickedness has blinded them. Right? They had a discernment, but it was way off. Way off. It has blinded them. Verse 22. As for the mysteries of the Most High, they knew them not. Remember what we just read in 1 Corinthians chapter 2 about the mysteries and about how it's been revealed and that things are spiritual, right? We just read that 1 Corinthians chapter 2. It says, and for the mysteries of the Most High, for they knew them not, neither hoped they for the wages of righteousness, nor discern a reward for blameless nor discern a reward for a blameless soul. For the Most High created man to be immortal and made him to be the image of his own eternity. Nevertheless, as always, though they envy, nevertheless, through the envy of the devil came death into the world, and they do hold of his side to find it. Did I read that right? Let me see. Nevertheless, through envy of the devil came death into the world, and they that do hold of his side do find it. Right? So if you're doing evil, wickedness, you will find what? Death. Right? But we will never die. We just multiply. That's what Christ said. You'll never see death. You'll never die. You'll always be with what? Me. So you'll never die. Right? So I just wanted to show that on the screen. Please, I encourage you, go back and read that whole thing, because chapter 1 and verse 2, if you read those together, it'll kind of give you the insight, and then go into chapter 3. Man, some great knowledge, some great discernment, some great wisdom there. That's why it's called the Wisdom of Solomon. So please go back and read that if you can. I would encourage you to go back and read that, man. Like it's definitely some great information in there. Definitely some great information. I don't believe the brother put anything else in the chat. The last one was that one right there with the Proverbs chapter 6, verse 23. Like I said, that was a very good verse. And I know I had spoke on it. I always like to show when I speak on something. Let me see. Since I did speak on it, let me just show it real quick. Psalms 119, 105. Since I did speak on it, I just want to bring it up. I thought I put it Psalms. This is the other one that I like. Psalms 119, 105. And it says, thy word is a lamp unto my feet and a light unto my path. Right? Remember what I said, we have many different paths. But we read in Matthew 7, chapter 7 and 13 and 14. Broad is the way that leads to destruction, right? And narrow is the gate that leads to what? Eternal life. But it says few be that find it. Well, the way that you find it is that what? You have a lamp and it's to your feet, which shows you what? The light to the path. And if you have this lamp and you have this light, then you can follow that path. And he will lead you. He will guide you. He will give you the discernment of everything that's needed, right? We could have went to so many other different places, many more places. If you would like a part 2 of discernment, please put it in the comments. Let me know. Hopefully it was edifying for you. I didn't want to make it too long, but hopefully it was edifying for you, like I say, and hopefully you can get some discernment from this. This is what it's about. This is why we do these lessons, right? So we give all praises, honor, glory, esteem to the Father Yahweh, and his only begotten Son, Mashiach Yahushai. Once again, peace and blessings. Shalawam to the Ahchyam, the brothers, the Ahchwathyam in the Hebrew, the sisters, to the four corners of the earth that's out there bringing forth this truth, living this truth. So, hey, continue to fight the good fight, walk strong, stay strong. And if there's anything that you would love for us to go over, please email us, let us know. And don't forget, join the brotherhood. We are a body, and we need all members to make the body strong. Giving praise, honor again to the Father Yahweh. And with that, I say, Shalawam.